Letter 12, to Thomas Pennant, Esquire. November 4, 1767. Sir, it gave me no small satisfaction to hear that the falco turned out an uncommon one. Footnote: this hawk proved to be the falco peregrinus, a variety. I must confess I should have been better pleased to have heard that I had sent you a bird that you had never seen before, but that I find would be a difficult task. I have procured some of the mice mentioned in my former letters, a young one and a female with young, both of which I have preserved in brandy. From the colour, shape, size, and manner of nesting, I make no doubt but that the species is nondescript. They are much smaller and more slender than the mus domesticus medius of Ray, and have more of the squirrel or dormouse colour. Their belly is white, a straight line along their sides divides the shades of their back and belly. They never enter into houses, are carried into ricks and barns with the sheaves, abound in harvest, and build their nests amidst the straws of the corn above the ground, and sometimes in thistles. They breed as many as 8 at a litter, in a little round nest composed of the blades of grass or wheat. One of these nests I procured this autumn, most artificially platted, and composed of the blades of wheat, perfectly round and about the size of a cricket ball, with the aperture so ingeniously closed that there was no discovering to what part it belonged. It was so compact and well filled that it would roll across the table without being discomposed, though it contained 8 little mice that were naked and blind. As this nest was perfectly full, how could the dam come at her litter respectively, so as to administer a teat to each? Perhaps she opens different places for that purpose, adjusting them again when the business is over. But she could not possibly be contained herself in the ball with her young, which moreover would be daily increasing in bulk. This wonderful procreant cradle, an elegant instance of the efforts of instinct, was found in a wheat field, suspended in the head of a thistle. A gentleman, curious in birds, wrote me word that his servant had shot one last January, in that severe weather, which he believed would puzzle me. I called to see it this summer, not knowing what to expect. But the moment I took it in hand, I pronounced it the male Garrulus bohemicus, or German silktail, from the 5 peculiar crimson tags or points, which it carries at the end of 5 of the short remiges. It cannot, I suppose, with any propriety, be called an English bird. And yet I see, by Ray's philosophical letters, that great flocks of them, feeding upon haws, appeared in this kingdom in the winter of 1685. The mention of haws put me in mind that there is a total failure of that wild fruit, so conducive to the support of many of the winged nation. For this same severe weather late in the spring, which cut off all the produce of the more tender and curious trees, destroyed also that of the more hardy and common. Some birds, haunting with the missel thrushes, and feeding on the berries of the yew tree, which answered to the description of the Merula torquata, or ring ouzel, were lately seen in this neighbourhood. I employed some people to procure me a specimen, but without success. See letter 20. Query: might not canary birds be naturalized to this climate, provided their eggs were put in the spring into the nests of some of their congeners, as goldfinches, greenfinches, etc.? Before winter perhaps they might be hardened and able to shift for themselves. About 10 years ago I used to spend some weeks yearly at Sunbury, which is one of those pleasant villages lying on the Thames, near Hampton Court. In the autumn I could not help being much amused with those myriads of the swallow kind which assemble in those parts. But what struck me most was that, from the time they began to congregate, forsaking the chimneys and houses, they roosted every night in the osier beds of the aits of that river. Now this resorting towards that element, at that season of the year, seems to give some countenance to the northern opinion, strange as it is, of their retiring under water. A Swedish naturalist is so much persuaded of that fact, that he talks, in his Calendar of Flora, as familiarly of the swallows going under water in the beginning of September as he would of his poultry going to roost a little before sunset. An observing gentleman in London writes me word that he saw a house martin on the 23rd of last October, flying in and out of its nest in the Borough, and I myself, on the 29th of last October, as I was travelling through Oxford, saw 4 or 5 swallows hovering round and settling on the roof of the county hospital. Now, is it likely that these poor little birds, which perhaps had not been hatched but a few weeks, should, at that late season of the year, and from so midland a county, attempt a voyage to Goree or Senegal, almost as far as the equator? Footnote. See Adamson's Voyage to Senegal. End footnote. I acquiesce entirely in your opinion, that though most of the swallow kind may migrate, yet that some do stay behind and hide with us during the winter. As to the short-winged, soft-billed birds, which come trooping in such numbers in the spring, I am at a loss even what to suspect about them. I watched them narrowly this year, and saw them abound till about Michaelmas, when they appeared no longer. Subsist they cannot openly among us, and yet elude the eyes of the inquisitive. And as to their hiding, no man pretends to have found any of them in a torpid state in the winter. But with regard to their migration, what difficulties attend that supposition? That such feeble bad flyers, who the summer long never flit but from hedge to hedge, should be able to traverse vast seas and continents in order to enjoy milder seasons amidst the regions of Africa,